I just like Green Bay. Obviously I'd have to give their offense a huge advantage. The Rams, their defense is pretty good. You obviously seen what they did against Seattle, which was kind of the most surprising because I actually had Seattle winning that game, not by much, but I had Seattle winning that game last week. So just the quarterback issues kind of worry me on the LA Rams side. But this week, I just have to go with Green Bay at home with Rodgers. I have to go with them. I have to take them.
And what do you got? What are they giving?
Touchdown? I believe it's 6.5. Yeah.
Same game, Wes.
So I'm also on the Green Bay side of the game. A little bit different reasoning. Everything John said, I agree with. But what I started to look at, Green Bay only has 2 wins this season by 5 or less. They've won 13 games this season, and in every one of those games, for the most part, they're over that 7-point spread or 6-point spread. So, and then I just look at kind of the offensive turmoil that the Rams are going to be in this week. They didn't really show much quarterback identity last week, and I don't think it's going to get any better with a team like Green Bay and Aaron Rodgers coming off a bye. And that coach-quarterback combination, I know that there was a lot of talk about it, and you'll hear play-by-play guys talk about how that's a good relationship, but I think it really is. And now coming off a bye, those guys are having fun with one another, and I think that they're going to be able to jump on the Rams, and the Rams won't be able to come back. And I think that that's going to force the Rams offense into mistakes, and the defense will become one-dimensional. I think that Green Bay is going to win this game pretty big. I don't look for any competition on the Rams side, even with that amazing defense that they have.
So here's what I'm doing. I'm betting the Rams in the first half. I'm betting for the game. I'm betting the over by itself. I'm betting it at a parlay. I will have the team total over for Green Bay for both the first half and the game. And then at the second half, my plan is to bet Green Bay and the team total over. So I like Green Bay. All right, so that's Saturday at 1:30. Now, let's see. We're in good shape. We're going to go to Saturday at 5 o'clock. We're going to talk about Baltimore at Buffalo. Now, we know you love Buffalo. Now, last week, oh, my God, if you only bet Buffalo for the game, then you know what? I have no sympathy because we've been here for 8 years now teaching you that if you like them, it's like Chicago. Vote often, vote early. If you like it, why wouldn't you have them in the first quarter? I always do a little bit first quarter because, first of all, it's the first ticket it's going to cash. I'm not betting any kind of props like first touchdown till the AFC, NFC games. But if it wins, and you say a third of a unit, well, guess what? That's a third of a unit. That'll cover some of the vig later on if you got a game where you want to buy a couple points. And you go from 110 to 150 or something, and so with the second game we got Baltimore at Buffalo. Buffalo is -2.5, I think, right? We got a ticker.
I think it was at 3, but I think it dropped to 2.5 today. There's also
so you're coming back on a team that lost against the spread last week.
Yeah, they lost against the spread last week. There was some in-game opportunities with them before, but yeah, Buffalo probably at that 2.5. I'm going to see what the money line situation is compared to the overall juice on the spread line. So I'll take a look at that, and then also you have to take a look at the weather because from what I'm hearing, there could be some snow situation in Buffalo. I kind of seen that run across and heard it somewhere. I haven't really looked too far ahead in the weather schedule, but that's something you got to take in mind. I mean, it's Buffalo. They could get a lot of snow, and that could change the game. And I mean, Lamar Jackson looked fantastic running the ball. I mean, after they got down, like he pretty much took that game on his shoulders and got Baltimore all the way back. So it's going to be tough for Buffalo to control Baltimore, but maybe they get some snow, and maybe that helps them a little bit.
I'm going to ask you a question, John. Before we go, I'm going to say, hey, there was a game, it was a bowl game, I think, where it might have been a playoff game, it might have been week 16 or 17. You guys, if you saw the game, remind me, where you couldn't tell, the way the camera angles, you couldn't tell where they were on the field. And they finally digitally put in, it was Chris Collinsworth, whatever game he does, Sunday night.
I remember that game. I just don't remember the team, but I know it was bad. It was really, really bad.
Put in the number. So I'm talking about, that field. You see that field in your brain, right? That field right there. If that field shows up on Saturday night, does that make him less dangerous or more dangerous?
That's a good question. I would almost say more because you would kind of almost expect them to run a little bit more, but is the Buffalo defense gonna focus in on that? It's tough with the snow. I think Lamar Jackson have some cleats issues too? I remember him changing cleats and maybe like the middle of the season, like he was slipping all around and then he had to change some cleats around. I think I kind of remember. I'm not sure if that was him or not, but I would probably say more dangerous. The Lamar Jackson, if you watched that game last week, you seen how fast he was compared to everybody else, which is crazy. I mean, if this guy gets just a little bit of open room, like he's going to blow right past you. And I think that's going to be the issue with Buffalo here. If they can, obviously that's almost with any team, but if you can control Lamar Jackson, because he's going to run 100 yards. Yeah.
No, I remember, and just so you know, those a little plug for our sponsor, championshipfootballs.com. We're working right now at a reissue. We don't reissue many. We have people that call. We put them on a waiting list. When we get enough, we're going to reissue the Louisville Sugar Bowl football. They won the Sugar Bowl, I think it was. I think it was the Sugar Bowl. But they won the big bowl game when he was there, and then they haven't won since. So we're going to do that. So let's ask Wes. Wes, that same field, it was so bad that they had digitally imposed numbers, the 30-yard line. Does that make him less dangerous or more dangerous, Lamar Jackson, on Saturday?
I think no matter what field you put him on, he's going to win this game. I have Baltimore in the game. I had Baltimore last week, and for similar reasons. I didn't expect Baltimore's defense to do what they did against Tennessee and hold them to 13 points and just pretty much silence one of the toughest beasts of a running backs in football. But I think that the way that they're able to control the clock, Buffalo just let Indy own the time of possession. They have the ball for 34 minutes, and they have one good running back, one capable running back. When you look at the Baltimore, you don't have to just stop the number one rushing offense in football. You got to stop the quarterback too, and I don't think that there's any stopping him. And he can pass the ball. Buffalo's defense is not. Buffalo's defense, I just don't see being able to slow him down. The only way that they can slow down Lamar Jackson is to score fast and furious and often. And with the snow on the field, that slows down Diggs and some of those faster receivers that Buffalo has. But even without the weather, I'm on Baltimore in this game. I also like Baltimore for the first half. It's 10.5 for the first half. And over the last 3 weeks, Baltimore is averaging over 15.5 points in the first half. They're also a top 10 team in the league as far as first half scoring. So I'm going Baltimore points, Baltimore first half. And then depending on the way the first half goes, there might be some money line too.
Yeah, the bottom line is this game is Baltimore's defense versus Buffalo's offense. That's really it. Baltimore does not give up points. They just don't give up points. Like you said, 10 or less the first half, 5 of the last 6, 19 or less for the game, 6 of the last 7 overall. On the road, they're just as bad, just as good. They give up 10 or less in the second half on the road, 5 out of 6. And the second half is when games are won, and 23 or less. You know what? I like the under in this game. I think Buffalo's going to win, but I don't know if I'm thinking they're going to win by 2.5. I'd rather have 2.5 than 3.5. Don't get me wrong. Kansas City host Cleveland.
Yeah, I like Kansas City. I like them all year long, but I mean, if you follow them, they don't cover. And obviously the playoffs.
Can I interject here?
Yeah.
I was talking to Vicky. In their last 8 games, combined for the first half, the game in the second half, their record is, I didn't do math on it, but it was 3, 19, and 2.
Wow. Well, there you go. I mean, you can't. Numbers don't lie, right?
3, 19, and 2 in the last 8 games.
Yeah.
Just burning people's money. They've won games. That's why I asked about the money line.
Yeah. I mean, if you're going to play KC, obviously that's the play you want to make. That 10 is ridiculous. I don't recommend ever betting a 10. To be quite honest with you. KC's probably looking to maybe get off to a better start. As we know, last year, all of their games, they were behind. They were behind by significant amounts. I don't think they want to repeat that situation. Cleveland's coming in with a ton of momentum. They're feeling real proud. Cleveland's, puffing out their chest. Everybody's on the Baker Mayfield train, which rightfully so. They played very, very good. But let's be honest, Ben Roethlisberger is not Patrick Mahomes. They're not going to get, I don't think Cleveland's going to get those gifts where the ball flies over the head, where Mahomes really doesn't throw those interceptions. I like KC. I'm not going to take the 10, like you said, maybe throw them in some money line parlays for the fun of it. Cash out that Bitcoin on Friday yeah.
Right now, the bottom line is those Cleveland Brown backers, they deserve everything they get. My son had them on the money line. He had a good weekend. He had the two upsets, the Rams, and he had the Browns in a money line parlay. Paid
Nice.
And you put a guy's bets in, you think you'd get a piece of the action.
You got to get your vig off there. You got to get your cut.
Thank you. I love you. Click. All right, Wes. You're a Kansas City Chiefs fan. You've been a Kansas City Chiefs fan, but you know your team, and like I always credit Sloppy. We got to get Sloppy back on. I always credit Sloppy. He's the same way with Seattle. Passionate, but knowledgeable and not stupid. No bet with your heart over your head. Are you going to touch this game?
Well, I am going to touch this game. And, to what you had asked earlier, would you ever consider going money line? And everybody on my podcast, when they bring up questions and ask about picks, what I say is if you feel like you need to buy the spread down to 9, well, then you like the other guy. So go there and keep your money. There's no, or just, this isn't the investment for you. There's always going to be another game. I would go money line on the dog if I felt it. I took Washington to beat Pittsburgh on that random Tuesday afternoon, and that was great. But as far as this game goes, a lot's been made about the Chiefs not covering spreads, but I think there's value to what John just said about how they don't want to repeat it last year. But what I was looking at, Andy Reid off of a bye. I mean, that's the popular thing to say right now. But I think what you got to look at is Andy Reid's Kansas City Chief defense off of a bye over the last couple of years. You throw the Raiders game out because I think they underestimated them. But the other piece that I look at with this game is the Chiefs have played against really two just run-centric offenses this year, where they're just not a high-flying pass offense, just mainly running the ball. And that's Denver and Baltimore. Limited quarterback, just purely run the ball. And what they did to Denver is they jumped out ahead and they beat them 43-16. When they played Baltimore, again, the Baltimore Ravens that are in the playoffs, they jumped on them early, and Baltimore, being as run oriented as they were, beat them 34-20. So I think when you put all of that together, I think the Chiefs are going to win this by 20. I think everything happened the right way for Cleveland. They got 3 turnovers early and jumped on top of what I feel looked like a very broken Pittsburgh team with the drop balls and everything else. And so I think that credit to Cleveland, they deserve that win. They look great, but I think that was more of a Pittsburgh team not belonging than and Cleveland caught a lot of breaks. So I think that this game is going to be ugly. And again, this is not the Chiefs season ticket holder talking. You have to look at what the Chiefs defense does against running offenses and defense coming off a bye.
Well, again, those games you mentioned were right on my Easy Sports data, but they happened before the line I drew. And that line I drew is they're 3-19-2 against the spread. That is a number that is going to be really tough to get money out of my pocket here. And that's why I was asking about the money line. I have a little betting strategy that and again, I give Wes a lot of credit. He's as good with the betting strategies as anybody I've met. That where you bet a certain amount of units to win a unit, and I want to win a unit on the money line, and then I bet a unit on the point spread. So if it lands between 0 and 10, I break even. If it lands at 11 or more, well, no pushes. So let's assume there's not a push. Then and of course, if Cleveland wins a game outright, I lose all the bets. And I've done that before, but normally, I don't know, 360, 375 is the top end for me. Because even then, you know what? If you do break even, you put a lot of money down, and you should have just gone to the park with your dog. So that's my thought on that game. I think I'm going to wait, and I'm going to bet that game live.